tonight, new police detail the chaotic moments after ICE agent Jonathan Ross shot Renee Good. The first calls coming in at 9:38 a.m. One telling dispatchers there's 15 ICE agents and they shot her, because she wouldn't open her car door.
Could I go check a pulse?
No! Back up! Now!
I'm a physician!
I don't understand. We got EMS coming.
Paramedics arrived at 9:42 a.m., reporting Good had 2 gunshots to the right chest, 1 gunshot to the left forearm, and an additional wound on the left side of her head, which the report called a, quote, possible gunshot wound. The dispatch logs indicate local law enforcement had to evacuate ICE agents from the scene.
People with arrest if they don't comply.
I can't breathe.
Come out of the federal building there in riot gear, pushing the protesters that have been out front of the building all day long back onto the sidewalk. They have threatened people with arrest if they don't comply.
Overnight, officers taking at least 4 people into custody.
We were on our way home from...
In chaotic protests after ICE...
Like, get the F out of here. And I'm like, we're trying, but in that instance, I'm like, don't you put your foot on that gas, because I'd be damned if they try to shoot us like Renee by saying that we hit them with our car. Immediately, once they got behind our car, they rolled tear gas under it.
They say grenades detonated their airbags, trapping them inside as gas filled.
Igor is the coach, so he bought.
First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honors, and glories to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahushua Ba'Shem HaKadosh, and the ones of the apostles and others, great Muslims. Salutations to the hopeful elect. This is your brother, I am Noah Allah from GMS Chicago, and coming back with you with another lesson, alright? And as you can see here, right, what's going on in Minneapolis is that, these protests are getting out of control because people are fed up right now, right? People are clashing with ICE agents, all right, as what you saw in the videos, all right, and I was looking through these news articles, right, not too long ago, but this is just recent, all right. You got Trump. He says tensions escalate as Trump threatens insurrection act. Blanche accuses Minnesota governor of, tea. But you can see the division in America, right? These states and the federal government, right? Which, Esau is divided against himself, right? A kingdom against himself cannot stand. And right now we're seeing the downfall of Esau's kingdom. All right, but the main part I want to get into is, this Insurrection Act. All right, Trump threatens to invoke the Insurrection Act in response to Minneapolis protests, which means is that, Trump is about to, send out the military, all right, to control the havoc that's going on over there. But, simply these people are just protesting and what, now, you got the ICE clashing with protesters, and Trump is about to, basically send martial law over there, all right? That's what the Insurrection Act really is. At the end of the day, it's really just martial law, all right? In the scriptures, they talk about, in the scriptures, it tells you about martial law. Alright. Second Ezra 16 and 70, for there shall be in every place in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. Alright. And that's martial law right there. Right? So yeah, Esau is getting ready to use his sword. Right? He's about to come down with that, great wrath. Alright. And you can see that Esau is gradually, trying to declare martial law. Alright, but somewhere down the line, a major thing is going to pop off where, Esau is going to have martial law out here in the streets of America. All right, best believe that. Isaiah 59:19. So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and the glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. And that's right. That's what Esau is about to do. You already saw Esau. Yeah. Them ICE agents they're going from door to door, all right, breaching into people's homes and snatching up, families, all right. That's what they're doing right now. And of course, we're in the time of Jacob's trouble, right? But it's only going to get worse. All right, you haven't seen much yet, but it's going to get to the point where things are going to be way, way more lethal. All right. And you see Esau, all right, he's already they're going from, damn, I swear I could have just saw a the video or a news article. They're breaching into people's homes now. Damn. I mean, that's what they've been doing. I'm not sure if you saw that video a while back, but ICE agents, they've been going from door to door, snatching people out of their homes. You even had an ICE agent a few months ago saying, fuck them kids. All right, it's what they literally just said. All right, and they zip tied children, right, out of their homes. But yeah, this is, Esau is really going to, send out martial law real soon. All right. But it says when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. And that's right, when Esau declares martial law, all right, ultimately they're gonna try to come after the men of the Lord. But in the scriptures it tells you that the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him, meaning, hey, Esau, you ain't gonna be touching the Lord's elect at all. Alright? When you come in like a flood, alright, you ain't gonna be touching the Lord's elect. But yeah, them lockdowns are coming. Alright, martial law will be declared real soon. And boy, these are the times that we're living in right now. Alright, the time of Jacob's trouble. Let's say, second Ezra 15:14, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Alright, and yeah, it's going to be lethal out here. Alright, people are going to be starting to use their weapons real soon. And you can see the build up to that point. Alright, you got these state governors, right, You know, they're speaking up. Right? Seems like they're about to really use their force against Esau on their own. You know, he's saying against Satan. Right? But it says, for there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They shall not regard the kings nor princes in the course of their actions to stand in the power. And, yeah, you know, there's going to be more sedition. Alright, they're going to be invading one another. Alright, they're not going to regard the law enforcement or the governors. Alright, they're all politicians, you know, things of that sort. Alright, because what, you know, there's going to be complete lawlessness out here in the streets of America. It says they shall not regard the kings nor princes in the course of their actions shall stand in the power. And what, you know, these people are going to be taking matters into their own hands. Alright, especially now, you know, which we are in the time of Jacob's trouble. Alright, but of course, you know, it's going to get worse. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. And yeah, that's right, you know, them checkpoints, them blockades, alright. You know, soon these people are not going to be able to go from a city to another, or from a neighborhood to another, because what, you know, by then, you know, there's going to be checkpoints, alright, military all around in the streets of America, right? And you can see that America is becoming a third world country. It already is, right? Now it's all just the weight of that one major event, the financial collapse, where it really would hurt these people the most, right? It says, for because of the pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And it's right, because of the pride. You know, our people are prideful, our people are wicked, right? This is exactly why the Lord is going to punish them, because of their pridefulness, right? It says, a man, it's like, just started right now. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy the houses with the sword and spoil the goods because of the lack of bread for great tribulation. And that's right. You know, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy the houses with the sword and spoil the goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. There's going to be a famine, right? You know, scarcity of food. Right, real soon here in America. And hey, you know, nobody likes going hungry. When people go hungry, they go mad. Alright? So you're going to be having people attacking one another for resources. Right? Because what, you know, the hunger really does, the hunger is really a pain. It's a pain. But anyways, that was just it to that lesson. Hope it was edifying. I want to give all praises, honors, and glories to Yahweh B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Shalom.